In this video we are doing a little experiment. As we all know, filtration and flow is very key to a clean and healthy aquarium. And in this aquarium we don't have a lot of filtration, so it's a great starting point to show and experiment and see just how much adding a good filter to a tank can help it develop and mature and actually impact the aesthetics of your aquarium. Now, by no means is this aquarium unhealthy. You can see the fish are vibrant, they're out, they're happy. We have got macroalgae growing throughout, which is again vibrant and happy, but there is an issue with hair algae. This tank has always suffered with hair algae, and it is on the other side of it now. It's looking a lot better than it used to do, because the rocks were covered, the substrate was covered, everything was covered in hair algae, and it's still there. You can see amongst the caulerpa we have got hair algae, a little bit down here, lots over here, and so on. So it's not actually through it yet. We're still suffering. I don't think this tank is going to get past that problem without a decent filter on it. Now you might be thinking, but this is a FLUVAL shaker, it has a filter on it already. And you're correct, down in the cabinet here there is a FLUVAL 307, but the way I set this system up is that it's actually attached to these tanks over here. So in fact that 307 comes from here through and up, so it's actually just filtering this water before it gets into this tank. And that means there's no actual filtration of the tank itself. There's nothing flowing water through here, taking debris out, and that is the issue as far as I'm concerned. We can see on the rocks here this mulm that's building up. Now this is lava rock, which isn't typically used in marine tanks. I think this is part of the problem, but this is the issue really. It's this dirt that's being trapped, and that's allowing the hair algae to then grow on top of it. And this is just going to be an experiment really to see the effects of before having no filter and after having no filter. So if you're interested in that, then stick to this video because I'm interested in it as well. This is hour one of the installation of the FX2. Obviously it's running, it's all sorted out, and we can immediately see that the flow rate of this filter is massively better than the filter I have on it already. Of course, it is now filtering this tank itself rather than filtering the base tank over there, and immediately it's starting to remove dust, it's starting to remove hair algae. So I will have to maintain this probably every day until most of the rubbish has been removed. I'll just need to keep taking this strainer out and giving it a clean. But I think it's going to make a huge difference in here. What I will do is give this tank a bit of a scrub down, give it a clean, maybe with a toothbrush just in the water, just to get rid of any of the build-up on the rocks. Let the filter handle that, let the filter remove that from the system, and then going from that point we can see whether it comes back, which it has been doing, or whether the extra filtration is enough to keep this hair algae at bay. Interesting to see, isn't it? One thing I definitely need to do is sort this caulerpa out. Spinning like this, I don't really like that at all. About 3 months ago I added a new filter to this aquarium. That filter was the FLUVAL FX2. I thought I'd do a little bit of an update, a joint update on how I'm finding the FX2, but also how it's affected the aquarium I've added it to. Let's start with the aquarium. So this is a saltwater tank. It's full of macroalgae. We have some corals, obviously some nice tropical fish. But 3 months ago this tank was looking quite a bit different. It was covered in hair algae, albeit I still do have a little bit of a hair algae issue. You can see the hair algae which is growing on some of my macroalgae, but also down here, which is a bit of a dead spot in terms of flow. But in general, the aquarium had a lot more hair algae, bigger issue than it is today. Now, I have been cleaning this tank as normal, as you would sort of do with your own tank. So I've been cleaning the rocks a little bit, I've been scraping the glass. You can sort of see where I've gone over it recently, but I haven't been going mental with it. I've just been doing regular maintenance as you would expect with any aquarium. And I could quite happily say that in the last 3 months there has been an improvement in terms of the amount of hair algae that's growing in this aquarium. For instance, although there is still a little bit of hair algae on the rocks, the actual amount has gone down significant, and we're starting to get coralline algae growing. We're getting some colonization of some different types of macroalgae. So in general, the health of this aquarium has improved dramatically. I can also say that the actual macroalgae itself is enjoying the increased flow from that FX2 because it's starting to grow quite a bit faster, and it looks just more healthy and vibrant than it did before. Especially the caulerpas. Before, the caulerpas were a little bit straggly, they weren't really growing. The addition of filtration to this tank has been significant, and you might say, well, obviously filtration is significant to an aquarium, that's why we put filters on our tanks. But some people don't, and for various reasons they don't do that. But I thought it would be interesting just to see how much of an impact having a decent filter can have on your aquarium, because a lot of people will under filter their tanks, and that can cause them issues. They can complain about the fact that they're getting hair algae, for example, that their plants, corals or macroalgae aren't growing as well as they perhaps should be, and a lot of the time we can attribute that to lack of flow and filtration. So it's very important, if you're having any issues with your tank, to address that part first, because it's very significant in the way that it affects the health of the tank and its inhabitants. I think we can all agree that it has had an absolute resounding success in terms of how everything is looking. And with that being said, we'll talk about the filter itself. So the FLUVAL FX2, at this present moment, it's a bit of an enigma, because I know that they are for sale in the UK, because obviously there's one there, and I've seen them in the UK shops. They're not exactly rare, you can pick them up now for, I think they're like £225, and they seem to be all over the place. But I'm getting lots of people, I think from maybe the USA market, saying they can't find them anywhere, which is a bit strange. I don't know why that is. I don't know when they're going to be for sale. If FLUVAL watch this video, I guess it would be a good idea for them to maybe leave a comment below and let everybody know what's going on. But that being said, some people in the USA have got these filters again, because they've left a comment on a video and they've said that they've received one. So I have no idea what's going on. Don't ask me when you can get one, because I don't know. If we're looking at the outlet and inlet, you might notice that I've removed a part, and I'll explain why. The part that I've removed is the lower section. We all know the reason why we have this casing around the inlet of our filter is to stop large things from being sucked up the spout, perhaps blocking it or just getting sucked straight into the filter, and that includes our fish. I've removed mine, and my fish are, or at least seem to be, smart enough to not get sucked up and into the filter, so far at least. The reason I've done it is it kept getting blocked by the amount of hair algae. That is obviously an issue to do with the tank, but basically with this getting blocked up and completely covered in hair algae, it was really badly restricting the flow into the filter, and then obviously preventing the filter from doing its job properly. So I've removed it just temporarily. It's been running like this for the last 2 weeks, and it just allows all the debris to go up into the filter without being blocked so badly with all of the hair algae that's building up on here. And you might say, why don't you just clean it more often? Well, I work long hours and it gets blocked up pretty quickly within around 12 hours or so of me like cleaning it and putting it back together. So that was the best solution for me. In terms of how this filter is running though, absolutely brilliant. I would highly recommend it. Obviously I have an FX4 and I've used that for a while. Differences between this and the FX4 in terms of how it works, absolutely zero, other than the fact you don't have that little tube coming out of the bottom there to let you do a drain out. And to be fair, that is a reasonably significant difference, because when you do clean this, and I've only cleaned it once, and I cleaned it about a month ago. I've done a video, you can watch that. I've got to say it was harder to actually move the canister, because when you disconnect it, you've still got water in the canister, and it's not a small canister. It weighs a fair amount, and I can see how people would struggle to move this, especially if you had it lower down. It would be difficult. And when you do remove the lid, the water is quite high, so moving it without spilling water everywhere is a challenge. With the drain plug, obviously you could then just connect your hose to it and you could drain the canister, which would make it very easy to move. So the lack of the drain plug on there is something that I think people will notice. If you're used to using the larger ones, the FX4, the FX6, and then you get one of these, you'll notice that that's missing, because I would have used it myself had it been there. But other than that, this is a really good filter, and in comparison to the FX4, it's a bit smaller, but in terms of its operation, it's absolutely the same, and it's just as good on a smaller tank. I've had no issues with it. It's doing its job. You can see the results. Obviously, as I've mentioned, I've been doing manual removal, but I was doing manual removal before I added this, and that was not enough to get this tank to where I needed it to be. So I'm really interested now to see, going forward, maybe in the next 3 to 6 months, this tank should hopefully mature. I might actually put this FX2 down there, and then when I break down my tank that's in a different place with the FX4 on, I might also add the FX4 to where that is now, and we'll have an FX4 and an FX2 on here, and absolutely throw flow and filtration into this system, and we'll see what happens then. But I don't think that's massively necessary at this point. Everything's looking healthy. The corals are all out. The macroalgae is growing, even though it's a bit hair algae covered. And importantly as well, the fish are vibrant, they are healthy, and they have no issues. So I'm very happy. Let me know what you think below in the comments. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, leave a like and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Once again, thanks for watching and happy fish keeping.